Hi there, it's July 23rd. Let's have a look at the daily Crazyhouse arena, shall we? In the lead, after like 15 minutes of play, it's Zerza. Let's see. Is she playing at the moment? Crazy 8 is in the tournament. And they are playing. And obviously Crazy 8 will be berserking here. Zarza choosing a modest setup here. I would have liked to counter here in the center. Now that White has decided where to put his king. This just seems a little bit dubious, but voluntarily opening up the H file might prove a bit too much. But what is the best move here? I'm not so sure about this for White, actually. Maybe there's a good move for Black. But I don't think pawn at f5 is the move. Well, we have an open h5. Anything can happen. So maybe White, Black is hoping for something like knight takes, swap bishops, and then let's say queen takes and bishop e5. That would be something. And Black has to be careful here so the pawns don't swarm the rook here in the corner, and queen. And that's a nasty move. I mean, if you take here, this bishop will be hanging. So, okay, I didn't expect that move. Probably White can just swap some pieces here, take d7, take g7, and then there's a knight coming here. Yeah, simply playing d5. Now White has everything under control. And this puts Black out of his misery, her misery, I should say. Simply picking up this rook, covering g2. But let's have a quick look here. Knight g4 seems a bit optimistic, but I'm not sure about this. Maybe Black has some compensation. Yeah, e5 maybe. Who knows? And look here, the computer suggests king f8, which is a good move, stepping out of this pin and also keeping g7 under control. So actually that would maybe have been a playable position. But after this it was just slaughter, I'm afraid. Okay, so back to the tournament. Is anyone watching me? Yeah, I have a few people watching. Hi there, everybody. Hi, Chuck. There's still in the lead, but I'm pretty sure that Crazy 8 will overtake her. He's playing some 1600 guy. Let's not watch that. Let's pick something else. Is there anyone else? Some strong players. Oh, let's watch Zarzash. After all, she's in the lead. And in this position, notice that there's a hole here. There's a hole on b7. So maybe you could just take a pawn and put it on b7. That would probably be good for white, I think. Going back is a bit chicken, I'm afraid. And now there's a chance also to take a pawn and put on b7. And black needs to be careful here. There's a hole on c7 as well, and b7. White is eager to pick up a pawn. And where is that pawn? Well, you had a chance to pick up a knight for c7 now, I guess. So picking up the rook would probably just be bad. This bishop is strong, covering important squares, so probably swap and replace with a new bishop on g7. This is way more passive. I like keeping the diagonal open, so I prefer bishop g7. You would have wanted to have that pawn now. Although black has everything under control, the knight is hanging, so what do you do here? Tough spot here for white. Well, you can just sidestep this threat. Well, this creates a... You really want to have your queen in the middle of the action. I'm not so sure. I would have simply recaptured with the pawn. This could potentially be dangerous. Especially if black decides to swap queens. Actually, you can almost take g2 here. Almost. Maybe it's good even. But this seems a lot safer. Black is enjoying a huge advantage here. But black needs to put his pieces on the board. He's been way too lazy. And now actually white has some initiative. For instance, I would have saved that pawn. You need more diags. That was overly optimistic. And rather than hitting the queen, why not start hammering the king's position? I don't know. Bishop e4 looked tasty. Threatening mate. I'm not so sure about this position anymore. That was not the move you wanted to do. You need to play rook g3 now and pretend black has nothing. Well, I suppose you could take the bishop. Surely queen takes here. And watch out for a knight landing here on e2. That would have finished the game. So, where is the mate? Maybe you just take f3. Yeah, just start pinning things here. Pawn g2, pawn h3, or just using brute force here. Pawn check, bishop check, and another pawn and its mate. You have enough. And that actually blocks the black attack. So put the bishop here and you're safe for at least a little while longer. With emphasis on little. So let's say king g2, black can even take on f3. King takes and bishop e4 is checkmate. Let's see if he finds it. Yes, he did. Didn't see the quickest mate, but found a mate. Okay, so Crazy8 is playing who? Some 1500 player. Squid in the water. It's nice to know that the squid is in the water at least. Blitzer. Here's a strong player. Not playing anyone. 57 players. It's nice to see that these Crazyhouse arenas are popular. Well, let's see how you kill off some 1550 rated player. Let's watch this from the beginning. So black forgot to take back. He should definitely take on e5. White got an extra piece and an extra attack. Okay. Let's see who Crazy8 is about to play. Well, a fairly strong player. Somaya from, is it Romania? Yep. I usually don't play e4, but whenever someone provokes me with c5, I always go for the open center. I just think that it's too weak here on the dark squares. It's good to keep your bishop here on e2, especially if you have your queen here out on d4, because let's say the bishop was somewhere here. Actually, pawn at h3 would be a good move, because there's a knight fork on f3. You see, black is already in huge trouble here. Passive pawn placements. The queen is hitting g7 and the knight. And white is just gonna swarm black here. Look, this knight, where is it going? You can trade on d5, knight h5 coming. And maybe just knight at f6. That's another way of doing it. White's only problem here is to choose from all the strong moves that are at his disposal. Okay, so he will pick up the rook and then yeah, knight takes, bishop takes, rook h7, and then you take h7 here with the rook. Completely hopeless. And let's say you sneak into the corner, you can simply play queen takes g6, and if you take with the pawn, you have rook h7. Yeah, of course, Crazy8 saw this. And if he takes with the f pawn, it's knight f7, checkmate. Very cute. So let's see what these guys are up to. Looked like the chess tricked black here somehow. Building a strong center, and well, black king is weakened. He's lost the right to castle. And contrary to popular belief, castling is actually often good because it brings the king to usually relative safety, and the rook is in action. Okay, so how do you handle this? You could maybe just leave the knight on d5. It's not entirely necessary to move it. Could also, yeah, take here, maybe knight d6 or bishop d6. This knight is just lovely, isn't it? Sitting in the center. White almost could take here. Queen takes, pawn takes, knight at f6. Pawn takes. It's checkmate, isn't it? No, you can go in this direction. But then pawn c7. Okay, never mind. I was just hallucinating, I think. But now that white got a knight, maybe it was good anyway. To take with the queen on g4 would have been pretty. So what is setting up all sorts of nasty checks here? Maybe bishop c5. Just don't get surprised by a bishop check here on h2. Black is hoping to play bishop takes h2. But alas, it's impossible. And black doesn't have anything, and just a few checks. I'm afraid. Although the king is surprisingly safe, I was about to say, but it doesn't look very safe now, especially after that move. So how do you prevent the king from hiding? Actually, these pieces are keeping the king quite safe. And white didn't find anything. I'm sure there was something. So something with knight f6 there, maybe. Well, that was just over. Let's have a look there. Was there... First of all, is queen takes g4. Is this winning? Yeah, of course. It's mating 10. I knew it. Okay. Like this. And pawn c7. And you take this. And you just keep hammering at the black king. Oh, the H file, sorry. I'm terribly sorry. My bad. Yeah, I should have taken with the rook instead. I suppose that it didn't really matter, but... Yeah, take here with check. You get another knight, which is nice. And you lure the rook away from the H file, which is probably very good. Yeah, never mind. Good to hear that it's perfect. Perfect. I like perfect. These two guys are playing Crazy 8 versus Blitzer. Some sort of theoretical duel here. The pseudo sacrifice by black, weakening the white king. Interesting. So both players using some tricks here to stay safe, and I'm not sure who has the... Well, I'm pretty sure actually that one has the safer king. This knight is protecting f2 and e3. And white has some nasty diagonals here. Bishop at f6 is a definite threat. And if black trades here, well, that can only favor white. Connecting the rooks. And this didn't help much, did it? But why don't you... Shouldn't you be taking this pawn and then try to fork on d3? Because this seems like futile resistance. Maybe bishop f6? Because with the pawn closer to the king and the knight in hand, it looks like mate or whatever you try there as black. Well, actually, black got a bit safer there. White not threatening anything at the moment. Maybe bishop d7 to to create some sort of escape route. But black goes on the attack here. He doesn't have any blockers though, and that could be a problem. So do you play queen f8 maybe? Threatening knight at f8. I would very much like to have the king somewhere here as black instead of on d7 and having c8 blocked by the bishop. Probably under promoting here just to keep the checks going. And where was the mate? I suppose there was one, but where was it? Why not let Crazy8 find the mate? Because I certainly don't see any immediate danger. These knights are doing a good job here, so I think Blitzer was hallucinating a little bit there. Okay. Terrifying guy, this Crazy8. And what's this? Nothing. He lost. Dog Brain Sally. Let's watch this just because White has such a funny nickname. So, looks like White is having a great position, but I think White is just lost here. He's run out of steam, yeah. No moves. Black will just take g2. I wonder how bad the computer says this is. -12. Okay. So black has just repelled the attack and is ready to swarm the board with all those light pieces. Okay. Not looking so good for White there. Black is enjoying a bit of initiative here, and watch out for ideas like take here, and if queen takes, you have like knight checks in the corner maybe. And now knight h3. £1 inch for every 10 pounds. Okay. Funny person here. So which one is it? How do I throw him out? No, that's not it. I'm not doing this right, am I? Okay, put some sort of gag on the guy. So what's happening here? Is it... Yeah, right. Okay, so this wasn't it. Someone help me here. Which is the button that I used to shut his fuck up? Okay, so the guy is spamming. And I don't understand how I get rid of him. Does anyone know how to put a muzzle? Put surveillance. I'm putting surveillance. Okay, to the right of whisper, but where is whisper? Oh, you will spam report. Oh, I'm so scared. There it is. Block. And report. Oh, I just block. Thank you, Linus. Bye-bye. And I completely lost track here of this game. Seems like what is just winning. Should be just check, check, check. I check here, I suppose. And another knight at d5 should do it. So takes and rook e8 checkmate. Two players have won all their games, but Crazy8 is ahead by a lot here. I hope they will play each other. And this doesn't look interesting either. I want a good game here. This should be good. And I'm not sure, why don't you play Queen h5 instead? I like that move better. This pawn formation is a little bit rigid, if you get my meaning, because you already declared your intentions. I think white should switch to a little bit of chess here. Just develop the rook, probably before you play knight e5, because now black got a natural position for his bishop. You need to trade the bishop. Well, this should be good for white. Good defense here. And probably another knight on g4. I was thinking maybe black should put something here, but I think he wants a bishop on g7 in a little while. You really need to get rid of this and somehow get a knight to f6. Interesting there, blocking the bishop. On the other hand, there might be checks along this diagonal against the white king at some point. Seems like white has everything under control here. Knight f6 coming up, unless black does something to prevent it. You might even opt for knight f6 anyway, because knight takes, pawn takes, queen takes, and pawn g5 something. I think black will need to give up his queen here at some point. You can't just get kicked around here. Or maybe you can. Black is trying to deplete the white forces. But pawn d4 looks good. Although you might want to save the pawn for later. So all you need is a heavy piece for g8 now, but not so easy to get. But no, I was thinking rook h3, but queen takes, pawn h, pawn g2. Is this mate? Very close, knight f4. King here. Looks very suspicious, doesn't it? Yeah, rook g2, that was mate. But in this position, one has g2 covered. So black needs to surrender the queen, but he got some compensation for it. And it wasn't quite necessary to give up the bishop there, was it? Could have just continued to put the pieces on the board. Okay, so it's very difficult to get to the black king here. I'm not sure how to do it. Good thing to have this rook here covering f4, so there's no knight f4. White took a stab here at the black brick wall just to infiltrate here on the black back rank. But is it really enough? Great defense. And I think White needs to switch plans here. So looks like White is trying to win on time. Well, that could be a dangerous tactic. Black is knocking on the enemy gate. Black has everything covered here. And everything comes with check. He has 2 queens. And it's mate. White must have been winning there at some point. But where was it? Pawn b7. Yeah, I didn't quite like f3. Knight e3 here somewhere. And actually black is better. Okay, interesting. Is this interesting? No. That was made in 1. And maybe we get to see Crazy Duchess now. No. He paused. Ah. Damn. Well, at least Blitzer is playing Crazy 8. So we get another theoretical opening duel. We remember this. At least I do. If queen takes, there's a knight fork, and now pawn e4. We saw this before. It was good for white. So maybe this is slightly different. We'll watch it from the view of Crazy 8 instead, because that's the view we had before. So I'm thinking at some point simply castle and take f3 with the queen. Strong threats here on the f file then. I mean, let's say castles, knight takes, queen takes, bishop e4. You have knight takes g7 check, and black can take back because of queen takes f7 mate. White is forcing black to put the pawns passively. I think white mishandled this a little bit. Not sure how bad it is. Maybe it's still good. Probably is. Yeah, that's right. Cut off this bishop, making this knight look silly, opening up for this fellow. So if you take here, there's a knight fork on f6. But maybe you can live with that. King d7 was another possibility. So now you need to be sharp here with black. Is there something? Taking here provides a little escape route here for the king. That could come in handy. It would be possible maybe to check with the rook on e3 because of the pin here. I'm not sure what this is supposed to accomplish. King takes, and then every pawn is precious here. Okay, so he wants the bishop in the defense somehow. And I was thinking about this because this creates a hole here on d3 for a knight. An aggressive move. And why not just take on f5 at some point here? Yeah, let's get some protection. Knight d3. Oh, this is... And the pawn was hanging with check. Just be a little careful here with black. And that's not what I would call careful, but whatever. Queen takes. And black survived here. Good defense. Let's see where he lost his advantage. Pawn h6 is an aggressive move, but this is more positional. Simply f5. Oh, he can't castle. That is probably the reason why he didn't castle, because he can't castle. Okay, but pawn at h6. So if something takes here, you have knight at f6 check, I suppose. Oh, knight at g7. So there was a good reason not to castle. My bad. Was this very open game? How did this come about? Everything coming off. I thought black would put the queen on e6 rather than e7. Never mind. This should be good for black. He has the opportunity now to do something nasty. Is Queen E5 move? You might even consider, like after pawn here, even sacrificing the queen would be interesting. Pawn D2 coming afterwards. That was an interesting move. So this puts a lot of pressure on white. You want to take the knight and take c2 and you can just pick up b2, I suppose. So this was a bit awkward because you had this self pin for black, but queen takes b2 seems good enough. The rook is hanging on d4 and more pawns here they are in danger. Maybe just take a2. You can take c3 next move, maybe. Yeah, take c3. And now you just trade the house. Could have taken d4 also because there was no bishop b5 check anymore. So let's see how he finishes this guy. Is it... What is the finish here? Oh. He doesn't really care. So many good moves here. Hi there, everybody who's watching. And he wants to close the exit here for the black king, so he's trapped. And now you can even afford taking on h3, I think. Because this knight is covering d7. Nothing for white. And maybe move like knight at c1 coming up. Because pawn takes, queen at f3, picking up the rook with check also. Poor Ronaldo. Oh, thanks for raiding. Welcome everybody who raided me. We are watching the Crazyhouse arena. And for those of you who haven't watched Crazyhouse or played Crazyhouse before, it's a great game. Welcome everybody. You can take your opponent's pieces and they join your team. What's happening here? Is white surviving? I'm super surprised. So where are you guys coming from? What did you do before this? You were watching something? And this is like the greatest comeback ever, if white can pull this off. And actually there is some way to escape this. Start checking. Take here, maybe pawn, bishop b4. Yes! I'm not meaning to be rude here, Crazy8, but this was fun. Okay. What happened there? He must have missed... Oh, you were watching Fortnite. This is much, much better than Fortnite. Black was so winning here. So winning. I mean, look at this. Queen at e1 is mating 4. And look at all the black resources here. And this. And you under promote. And it's checkmate. So he missed a lot of chances. What was the last chance? Was there some... I mean, it's... The king is in the middle of the board. This is ridiculous. Okay, funny. So much better. So Crazy8 has lost 2 in a row. But unfortunately, Duchess is not playing anymore. So I guess Crazy8 will cruise towards victory. Do we have any more interesting games here? Oh. Blitzer is on h4 with his king. That is most likely a very bad spot. But why did he sacrifice it? What is this? He's grabbing thin air there. Is there a piece on h5? This is some sort of bug. He must have taken something. Really strange. Queen at h6. Queen takes h5. I'm not sure what's happening here. I have to watch this from the beginning. What is he capturing on h5? Did you see this? Am I hallucinating? Well, the rook is gone, so somehow there's a rook on h5, but it doesn't quite register. And all of a sudden it looks like it's white's move. Okay, strange. You watch and you learn, and then you start playing Crazyhouse. And the next thing that happens is you never play Fortnite again, because this is the best game in the world. I'm not kidding you. So here we have a nice game. Crazy8 has berserked against Pawn in Training. Let's see if Pawn in Training can punish Crazy8. Yeah, because he had a knight in hand, right? Very strange. So Pawn in Training is just playing this super solid setup, probably going back with a knight to g1. And then he will have super control here of all the squares around the white king. Sometimes you can even consider taking on h3 here. Is that what black wants to do? Because I thought that was the general idea with... Or maybe not, it's not so good when white protects h3. Okay. So I'm not so sure about this setup actually. I think objectively black should be doing fine here. But it's like that piece of red cloth when you face a bull, just wave it and you get the bull enraged and then you stab him. It's not so easy to break through. Yeah, great. Stifaruni, thank you so much for raiding. And actually, quite a few of you are still around here. Thank you. Did he find the keys here to the black castle? Well, if you take here, the g3 pawn will be hanging. The question is, how do you do this? Because now you can trade. No more threat here. Complicated. Yeah, knight d5 is good. Centralized position, threatening e7. And also eyeing this weak pawn, I have to say, on e3. I think white has everything under control here. This guy is hanging. So I'm thinking knight takes, bishop takes, queen takes. This doesn't impress me so much. What if we just take all those pieces? And watch out for a possible queen sack here. Pawn takes and knight g3. That would make the white king very, very vulnerable. For instance now. Yeah, he's gonna take that knight. Maybe it was better to take first because this leaves white with one extra square. I suppose you can, you could just check here with the rook, pick up a pawn, and it's a pain in the ass to get the king out of trouble. So this hits the rook and also the pawn on g4. king here, you can take f3, threatening mate on h2. He has a nice flow here. Possibly... no need for that. Queen takes, knight takes, and then queen h1, checkmate. I wonder where pawn in training misplayed that. First of all, I suppose this is out of the question. How bad is this? It's just bad. Okay. So black is doing fine here. King h1 seemed a little bit unnecessary. Yeah, I would have taken g3 because once the queens came off the board, white was doing fine here. Queen f4 looked better. How is this done? I was analyzing this. You can simply take this bishop. This is very instructive, actually. And black has the initiative. Look, only knights and queens to block with. So let's get back to the tournament. Not so much time left. 5 minutes. And who else is playing? Well, let's watch Crazy 8. So he gave up a pawn here, but he will get a check here and the rook to the d file, which should give ample compensation. This is not an ideal place for a pawn. I think black has excellent compensation here. I mean, the extra pawn is in a very awkward place here. And black has a clear plan. He could play moves like pawn a3 with the idea pawn takes, knight c3 check, and queen d1 mate. Several ways to put pressure, and bishop takes c2 is a very obvious threat. King takes, knight d4 with mate to follow. And it's hard to defend against. Let's say queen b3, knight at d4. Well, what is up? Watching some Crazyhouse here. The daily Crazyhouse arena. And this is about to get mate. Queen check. Oh, that was a mate in one there, sorry. I was thinking queen check here and checkmate on c5. So Crazy 8 is winning this tournament. Most players are pausing here. But we have time for one last game against a fairly strong player, Dark Shrine. Seems like opening theory this. White has sacrificed a little bit, but is getting a huge attack here. Do you play pawn g5? How do you finish this? Because I mean, you could go for the queen, but is that really what you want? Pawn h6. King takes, pawn g5, king takes h4, something. Something like that. So this is slightly less brutal, but I mean, you would really like to have that knight. And maybe check here with the queen. Yeah, just picking up this knight for free. And probably taking the bishop. Oh, never mind, you can pick it up later on. Now, for instance, would be a good time. And maybe pawn h6 and knight g4. Or pawn h6, king takes, and not queen f4. So this is great. Simply bishop f6 and then swap queens. Oh, you didn't even have to swap queens. White has everything he needs. Queen g5 checkmate. I think that was a bad opening for black. He just walked right into something that looked like home preparation. Actually, that was bad. And so was this. Yeah, why not pawn g5? I was thinking the same thing. All of this seems very simple. Even here, pawn h6. I think the pairings have ceased. And we have to congratulate Crazy8. He won the tournament. 77 points. Congrats. Let's see if we can raid someone. Who shall we raid? Crazy8. He won the tournament. 77 I suck points. At this. Congrats. Is it here? Yeah, this is where you raid. Lifong. Never mind, I won't raid anyone. But it was nice to have you here. Hope you enjoyed. Thank you, Crazy8. And see you around soon. Maybe this is a good time for me to stream. I have a vacation and it's half an hour to midnight here. So maybe I'll play some poker now. Have a nice evening. Bye bye.